a good process for us. I had a town hall in my riding of Oakville and had a good 100+ people turn up, just people, general public, that turned out to talk about the legislation, talk about pros and cons. And one gentleman really hit home with me. He was really concerned about secondhand smoke from marijuana, worried that if he was exposed to it and he got in a car and drove, would he have, would he show trace elements, worried about different health aspects of it. So I think, Dr. Vandry, you had done a study on secondhand smoke from cannabis on non-smokers. Could you just share with the committee some of your findings from that study?
Ran a research study where we exposed people to secondhand cannabis smoke under different conditions. One was a ventilated room environment, one was an unventilated environment, and then within the unventilated environment we varied the potency of the cannabis that people were smoking. We found a substantial impact of room ventilation on the amount of exposure. In terms of drug testing, whether someone would test positive or not after exposure depended on how you were testing and what cutoffs were used, but we did find that in an unventilated environment, positive tests would be possible for both urine and blood, as well as actually saliva or oral fluid. The duration of time for where you could be positive depended on how you tested and what cutoff you used. But in order to become positive there under those circumstances, it was really limited to that unventilated environment where the room air was dense with smoke. When the air conditioning or the HVAC system was turned on, people were not impaired and were generally tested negative. So I think that secondhand smoke exposure is a real concern. It's a real thing, but it's hard to be impacted by that unknowingly. I think indoor smoking, secondhand smoke regulations are appropriate the same way they are for tobacco use. We've not done the parallel study with vaporization, so we don't really know the level of secondhand exposure with vaped cannabis versus smoked. And then there's obvious limitations beyond that. For the study that we did, we exposed people for 1 hour one time. That doesn't tell us anything about what happens if they're exposed for a longer period of time or a shorter period of time, but repeatedly. I think, again, this is an area where more science is needed, but I think that our study demonstrated that you can get slight intoxication and test positive in an extreme exposure environment.
Thank you very much. Those are my questions. Thank you.